Chapter 15. The Treehouse Trio. These alchemy boys lived in a treehouse within the top of the thickest rustwood tree at the end of the clearing. The trunk had all kinds of carvings, scribblings of unknown languages, others just indecipherable words, codes and symbols, born out of the skulls beneath those wondrous haircuts of the Treehouse Trio. The trio were so skinny they appeared almost ethereal. Their haircuts never seemed to waver, like delicate balanced works of art fixed in time, their figures carved out in this space and place, seeming like columns of timeless energy, not determined by the wildness of the forest or the staid, disciplined villages. Although they were deeply connected to ancient voices, mantras, melodies, and spirits of this very forest when it once stretched out to the edges of the island. They mostly kept the treehouse just jamming, plucking, sailing, and freely experimenting with their entwined soul energies night and day, from dusk to dawn. The creatures just heard a humming sound from the treehouse, which at its highest peak just peered out past the canopy of the trees. An array of thick woody vines like giant chains circled the tree, hanging from their wooden abode, which the boys descended and ascended. It was a glorious sight to behold. They were so delightfully nimble, their limbs so swiftly danced along the vines as they appeared blurred, scurrying back and forth hither and thither. We may refer to them as boys, but they were unlike any archetype or stereotype of what a boy is. They were what some would call androgynous. They had a masculine energy but oozed with a feminine grace and maybe even power. Not the power relating to ruling over others, be it benign or malignant, but power coming from something sacred, unconscious, buried deep within, aligned with the forces of nature, a power long forgotten, replaced by hierarchical structures. Their vibe was otherworldly. Even though they had been children of the villages once, what they had metamorphosized into seemed so far from their past and what was expected of them, they appeared alien from another realm. The creatures below craved for their wild music as it released them from the drudgery of the day to day. It was the only time that all the beautiful freaks within Lazria's queendom forgot about any squabbles or quibbles hanging in the ether, including the fungal highness herself, Bertie and Cyril, the fizzers, Gobsheen McGee, the forest fool, Murio Sinico, a bespectacled buzzard, and of course Furdi, who will soon find himself at odds with the central governing hub of queendom, becoming an outcast, then a pariah from all the freaks and outsiders he'd met, except a special few, of course. Of course, this is why the extraterrestrial trio dwelled in the Forbidden Forest. Their magical sounds were not for the villagers. The folks of Tickety-Tock couldn't even see them, no mind hear their music once these boys had fully transcended their past forms and their town's rigid, crushing expectations. But fortunately, the creatures of the Forbidden revelled wildly in the frequencies they transmitted amongst the trees, giving these strange boys purpose, although they were happy enough hidden in their canopy shack, jamming endlessly, sleeping, partaking in fungal pleasures, dreaming of other worlds, chatting into the night in a language that only they could understand. They were also known to have voracious, random scraps and battles with one another, sometimes with themselves if they had overindulged. They had to let off steam somehow, for their existence was wholly committed to the oral magic of the sounds they mustered up, repeated over and over till a portal would open up, allowing them to step into another oral plane never explored before. They were uniquely special creatures, and even though the furries below loved them, they didn't truly respect how committed these boys were. The furries would get greedy and angsty with them if they didn't descend for a few days or more. But these lads were never lazy like those demanding fuzzballs below. If they didn't grace the clearing with their presence, they were exploring sound, carving new structures to bounce the sound off, or new instruments or drums to try expand their aural plethora. Sometimes they were just too busy scratching, kicking, punching each other till they fell in a heap on top of each other, falling asleep entwined till midday, where they woke forgetting completely why they had bruises and scratches littering their bodies from their petty scuffles. As piddling and trivial as these conflicts seemed, they really were an overspill of how much love they had for what they had become and for each other, because without each other they would be truly lost, probably end up in the depths of the black pool, a dreaded realm we will discover later. These skinny boys would be so lost in the sounds they were creating, it would appear to the eye that they did not notice all the creatures' raucous furore, but they were feeding off every trickle of energy that was being exchanged in these unbridled moments. Their haircuts like antennae, soaking every note of thought and feeling out there, being translated through their pale, bony fingers to their wooden instruments, which they carved out within their canopy palace. The sounds would echo through all kinds of carvings and hangings from the trees, which would amplify these creations all around the gathering. Furdi, as you will see, would gyrate, scream, laugh to every nuance they emitted, as the others did too, dancing wildly, embracing, whooping, creating all kinds of noises and sounds spontaneously to the trio's symphonies. For our dear friend Furdi, on these special nights, which usually happened sporadically and unexpectedly, he felt most at peace. He felt a deep hope that all would be cured and healed one day. All us fellow creatures made sense in losing themselves to the sound spells of these truly godly sprites of the treetops. The trio were named Jackie, Mowgli, and Drugi. Jackie was a ringleader of sorts, an unbridled wild genius, tall and skinny, of course, the spindliest of them all. His legs so lean and long you would wonder how he can stand or walk. The mind shakes so wildly till they blurred as he thrashed his 11-stringed, large wooden carved Magnifico. Jackie's barnet seemed like a silky, seamless, semicircular, smooth, silky bush, planted on his crown, perfect in symmetry, the hairline reaching his slim, plucked eyebrows, his follicles so dark, blacker than black, with the odd sliver of silver and blonde streaks here and there, his eyelids like half moons, his eyes slim like bright white shards, barely open most of the time. His irises were a misty blue-grey, but as he performed they appeared black, glistening, sharply defined, shielding him from revealing the fragility within. He could watch the furries without them seeing beyond his oral stature. His face was pale and smooth, had a creamy texture, like porcelain from a far-off unknown land. Its eyelids dusted ever so gently above the hairs with a dark dust shading into the creamy glow of his lunar lids. Sometimes he would dust a vibrant colour under the dark dust like an orange, yellow gold, silver or burgundy. Jackie was an intuitive instigator, a conduit that usually sparked a thread of some oral form or phonic thought that would in a flash resonate with Mowgli or Drugi, who would pick up very swiftly, with gentle ease at first, like a mystical breeze, creating space and form, an ever-changing, deciduous, untouchable structure, stretching their essence through this realm of their own sacred imagination. Mowgli played a wooden beast hanging low, for his limbs being long and scrawny, he could pounce on each of the 4 strings as hard or softly as he wished. filling the ether and forest air with trembling notes that would wobble and bounce off the trees in the assembling of carvings that they would drop from their palace and vines. Mowgli's face was long, his cheekbones razor sharp, aggressive almost, his lips bulbous, especially his lower lip, which seemed to hang like the beast stretched below his pelvis. His loose, wobbly lips parroted the wondrous notes being emitted from beneath. He could feel the woozy wobbles in his lower lip ground him to the boundaries he was transcending. His slender nose ended with a cute button-like shape, belying an innocence within his angular, truculent aspect. His hair was sculpted high, like a fortress of black shards, electrified, standing to attention, searching for unheard tones to the average ear. His eyes were wider than Jackie's, but dark brown irises, spaced out, looking into or beyond, who knows where. He stood rooted to the earth, moving a little here and there, the odd shoulder shrug as he filled the air with thick, woozy magic that reached deep within the guts of the surrounding furries. His cadaver, although rooted, seemed to waver, moving up and down like he was riding waves, guiding the arc of exploration through the unknown. Mowgli loved to streak colours on his cheeks, silver, gold, or yellows, green, pinks, and oranges, his eyelids always dusted with black. Those streaks of colours, coupled with his whole demeanour, gave him a fierce look. Furries just knew not to mess with him or heckle him with any hurtling nonsense too close to the bone. He really was a dude of dudes, out of this world. Drugi stood out, being less refined looking than Jackie or Mowgli. He was slim, but not so tall and scrawny as his brethren. His hair was a perfectly formed bush of fuzziness, so fuzzy it almost seemed blurred at the edges. His bushy eyebrows mirroring his hair, his eyes dark, wide, and wild looking, lost in the frenetic ram of percussive fervour. His skin creamy, his nose wide but so warmly shaped, his lips small yet gibbous in form, with little specks of dark hair littered above. He was wild and carnivorous in appearance, holding large bones that he thrashed passionately with acute precision and infinite variance of speed, touch and tone upon skinned, percussive shapes within reach of all of his limbs. He used not just the bones, but his feet, his fists, his elbows, even his head sometimes when he was really jazzed up. There was something savage and feral in his aura, a spirit that don't care two damn twigs what anyone thought. He filled the air with exotic, ferocious energy that your limbs could not help but tremble, shake, and move in time with his beat. He could bring you high or low, slow or fast, pound his way to your heart, holding the beat within you to his rhythm, which was aligned with the effervescent sparkle of Jackie's plucking and thrumming, sending out angels of sound, hovering around the noggins of the furry freaks, so lost, utterly lost in the spiraling sorcery of soundscapes they could never imagine, as Mowgli pounded their bodies from head to toe, grounding them, guiding them into the unknown or the other world. And of course, these sacred aliens were dressed in black, always black, all the time, head to toe. No discernible clothing or fabric to the furry's eyes, just black, following the lines and curves of their necks, torsos, pelvis, buttocks, arms, and legs, to long, shiny, pointy edges protruding from their feet. What a glorious sight! What an enchanting witching trio they made. Blessed vagabonds of some ancient wizardry, hidden within the enigma of this dense, honeyed forest.